It's a big day, everybody. Today, we're talking about confidence, and I'm going to give you 5 steps, 5 strategies that you can use to build your confidence. I'm not sure that was confident enough. 5 steps. You're getting 5 strategies, tools that you can use to boost your confidence. Pop Psych, and here's why. It stands for popular psychology, and through YouTube, I will become popular, and I'll be a popular psychologist. I'm David Colarosi. No, it's Dr. David Colarosi. I have a master's degree in marriage and family therapy and a PhD in counseling psychology.
You are such a genius.
I want to walk you through global strategies that psychologists use, that executive coaches use, that therapists use to boost confidence, to influence the way people think long term. So this is not going to include, you should exercise or eat healthy or dress to impress. All of that stuff is wonderful for your confidence, but it's wonderful for your mental health all around. Today, we're going to talk specifically about how do you change the way you think about yourself and how you view the world. Step 1 in increasing your confidence is changing your narrative. And let me give you some context. Back in 1944, 2 psychologists at a Smith college named Hyder and Simmel created a really interesting study where they had participants watch shapes move around a screen randomly. And when the participants watched these shapes move around the screen, they all projected different stories onto the shapes. Stories full of motivation, full of energy and emotion. Just totally made up. Some people saw a management scenario. Some people saw a lover's quarrel. Some people saw, a mom defending her son. Really fully developed stories. And Hyder and Simmel used that outcome to show that that's how people move through the world. We constantly create narratives that we project on to the world around us. When we see a guy driving a fancy car, we create some kind of story about that guy. How did he get in the car? What's he like? Would I be friends with him? And just as we project stories onto the world around us, we also project stories onto ourselves. We have our own narratives that we are living. So I think it makes intellectual sense that story is really important. You better have a story that is intentional and valuable to you, otherwise your confidence will suffer. So the question is, how do you actually intervene and adjust that story if it's negative? So let me give you an example. My story around sports is that I'm not very good, in particular at basketball. It would be insincere for me to tell you that what I should do is just change my narrative and say, I'm great at basketball, watch me dribble. What I do want to do is change the way I think about that narrative. So for example, what I could tell myself is, I'm not very good at basketball, but when I put my mind to things, I'm able to perform well. Or my friends may not be impressed by the way I play basketball, but they like me enough regardless, and they'll enjoy the time spent with me, so I should play. Right? What I'm doing is I'm looking back at my narrative, and I'm picking the parts of it that are positive and helpful and supportive, and that's the part of the narrative that I pay attention to. Because if we just let our minds go wild with the narrative, oftentimes that narrative becomes negative. All right, step 2 is enough with the negative thinking. You get control of your negative thoughts and stop doing it. It's not cool anymore. 200,000 years ago, super in vogue and necessary. The people that survived in a really hostile environment were the people that were pessimistic, hypervigilant, and negative. While they may have enjoyed hanging out with Mr. Pollyanna, that person probably didn't pass their genes on because they didn't survive very long. So our ancestors were the negative people. So today, even though most of us don't live in a super hostile environment, we view the world with that kind of negative lens. Researchers say about 80% of our passive thoughts default to that negative style. So today, we have to be really intentional about getting control of our thoughts. And there are a lot of different strategies you can use to change your thinking. I'll give you 3. I'll give you 4. One is go to therapy, go to coaching, talk with someone who can help check your thoughts, kind of reality test you so that your thoughts become more positive. Another strategy is to use a gratitude journal. This is to wake up in the morning and write down 3 things that you are thankful for. while it sounds superficial, it's really, really, really valuable to train your brain to see things on the positive side. Again, naturally, you don't flex that muscle, so you have to really intentionally work on being thankful for things in your life. Another approach is to set more reasonable goals. We know that people develop confidence through achievement. And so what happens is people oftentimes set goals that are ridiculous, right? These big, hairy, audacious goals that we know when we achieve this big thing, we're going to be really, really, really proud of ourselves. Right? But that takes a long time to achieve that really, really, really big thing. So it makes sense to set smaller, even daily, short-term goals. Goals that you know you can achieve and then feel good about achieving. The last step or strategy that I'll give you is to label your thoughts. We know we're going to have negative thinking. The task here is kind of a more of a mindful approach. Be aware of thinking negatively and label it as just that, as opposed to integrating or agreeing with the thought. So for example, if I'm going to give a presentation, I might naturally think this is not going to go well. Instead of allowing myself to sort of have that thought unchecked, I should recognize that thought and say to myself, I'm having a thought which is, this isn't going to go well. Because then I've appropriately sort of categorized it. It's just a thought. Has no bearing on whether or not my performance will be good or bad. Step 3 is stop the social comparison. This is very straightforward and super difficult, and you're never going to fully stop the social comparison. I'm encouraging you to just get a hold, I should have named it, get a hold of social comparison. It's natural to look at other people to evaluate yourself. There's no other way to know whether or not I'm performing well unless I can compare myself to other people. How do I know if I'm smart or funny unless I look at people around me that say you're smart or you're funny, right? I need that feedback, and seeking that feedback is totally natural. The challenge is that in modern society, we are exposed to a lot more social interaction and a lot more opportunity to compare ourselves than ever before. The easy example is social media, which the research is overwhelming about the negative impacts it has on mental health. If you don't pay attention to and be careful about what you view on social media, you are exposed to, by swipe after swipe, thousands of people, millions of people even, that appear to be living lives that are better than yours. They look better than you, they seem happier than you, their relationships are fuller than yours, they're doing cooler things, right? It's this sort of unrealistic picture of what happiness is, and it becomes really easy to go, well, I don't live that kind of life, and now I feel really bad about it. But it's not just social media, it's also the way our society works. Never before have we been able to expose ourselves to so many people, right? Most large companies now are multinational. We're interacting with people across the world. But humans originally were tribal, right? Very small cliques. And so it was easy if you've got a clan of 20 people to understand where you fall in that social hierarchy, where you add value and where you don't, and to be comfortable with that. But now we're constantly trying to figure out who we are in comparison to all of these people. And that's exhausting. And because our minds drift towards the negative, it's really easy to feel bad about who you are when you do that comparison. Step 4 is my favorite. Develop a growth mindset. This comes from the work of Carol Dweck out of Stanford. She wrote this book, Mindset, back in 2007, 2006, I think. And it really changed the landscape of personal development. The idea is some people have a fixed mindset, which means they believe they have a sort of a hand of cards that they were given at birth, and that hand of cards includes all of their skills, right? They are, to whatever level, intelligent, to whatever level artistic, to whatever level hardworking. Those traits are constant and they don't change. Other people have a growth mindset. They believe that they were given a hand of cards, but that hand of cards can change, it can develop, it can grow. Even something like intelligence, they believe by working and trying, they can get better in those areas. So nothing is constant. It all has the opportunity to grow and blossom. The research shows overwhelmingly that people that have that growth mindset perform better in new situations because they're more confident and because they're not afraid of failing. Someone who has the fixed mindset that makes a mistake, they're worried it reveals a negative card that can't change. Someone with a growth mindset, they can ask a bad question, they can try and fail, and for them it's not a big deal because they know they can always get better. That growth mindset allows them to continually blossom and try new things. So the trick here is change the way you're thinking, allow yourself, or rather not allow yourself, but believe in yourself enough to know that with hard work, dedication, focus, and an open mind, you can develop new skills. Nothing's constant. Okay, the last strategy, the most important technique, let me bring you in close because it's important. Stop worrying about your confidence. It doesn't matter. I don't care about it. They don't care about it. You shouldn't care about it. If you're watching this video hoping that one of my strategies will help you develop the confidence required to do something, to ask for what you want from your spouse, to ask for that promotion, to go for the new job, to develop a new skill, to take time for X, Y, or Z, stop worrying about your confidence. It doesn't matter. You have to recognize that confidence is a mindset. It is not a behavior. It should have no bearing on whether or not you do the thing you want to do. Go do it. The action leads to the confidence. Confidence is a lagging indicator. So that's it. Those are the 5 steps. Change your narrative, stop thinking negatively, stop comparing yourself to other people, develop a growth mindset, and stop worrying about your confidence.